These projects are designed to cultivate multiple skill sets that complement a series of videos created for the purpose of acquiring a foundational knowledge of the Python programming language. These projects will cover coding both console-based and GUI applications. TKEnder is a Python binding to the TK-GUI toolkit, and its framework is built into Python's standard library, so it does not require the installation of any additional modules. This makes TKEnder a convenient choice for building graphical interfaces for Python applications. All source code in these videos is available at the 1Byte at a Time GitHub repository. You will find a link to the code used in each video beneath it, in its description and comments section. You may use these links to download the source code.
This is a simple number guessing game, just to get some practice with repetition structures and decision structures. And we'll need a couple of modules. Random, we're going to import, and from OS system and name. Random to generate a random number, and from system and OS, we want to detect the user's operating system so we can send the appropriate command to clear the console. So if it's Windows-based, CLS, and if it's Linux, clear. So in the primary method, play game, we have three variables, number low, number high, and num guesses. We clear the screen according to the operating system, display the name of the game, guess my number 1.0, take the player's name via input, store it in this string, display it, and this sep equals, and then the single quotes here, it just tells print not to do the default insertion of spaces with the commas, which it would normally do. So it just modifies the formatting, because here I like to set the spaces myself. It gives me a little bit more control and precision over it. So that's all we're doing there. Okay, we asked them for a low number and a high number, and it comes in through input, which remember always returns a string. So before we can do math on that string, or evaluate it or compare it to something, we have to parse it and convert it to an integer. Hence, we pass what we get from input, that string, into the int method, and assign it to number low and number high respectively. Then we need a little bit of decision logic, and we've just nested some things parenthetically here. Remember that parentheses change the precedence, the way things are evaluated or calculated. So in this case, all of these conditions need to be true because they've been ANDed together.
Number low must be greater than 0, yet less than 100.
And number high must be greater than 1 and less than or equal to 100.
If so, then we say, hey, those high and low numbers are allowed there within the required range. If not, hey, that number was outside the range. So we'll select the low and high for the player, all right, with these default values of 1 and 10. We'll display the low, the high, and calculate the range and display that. Based on the range, we will give the player different numbers of guesses. So, say it's only between 1 and 10, then in this case, we're only going to give them 3 guesses, okay? If it's between, if it's greater than or equal to 10 and less than 24 and all the way to 7, and you could play with those values and how you want to evaluate that, how many guesses you'd give them there, but that's just one way you could do it. We'll tell them how many guesses they get. We'll use the random module, generate our secret number, store it in this variable. We'll use guess count to count their guesses. And down here, we create a repetition structure, a while true loop. And the set null value, this will be when the guess count is no longer less than the number of guesses. So let's say they enter a range of a low of 1 and a high of 10. Then, in this case, the number of guesses would be 3. Guess count starts at 0, so the first iteration, it becomes 1, because this acts as a prefix increment, right? It's at the very top of our iteration of our repetition structure, our while true loop. So the first time through, guess count is going to be evaluated as 0, so this will happen at least once. All right, but then we increment it. So it's 1, and then it's 2. And then the next time through, when it's 3, it's no longer less than guesses, it's equal to the number of guesses. And so that would be the set null value, which would break out of the while true loop and cause it to end. While we're in the loop, we're going to do a few things. We'll ask the player to guess a number. And again, because these are integers, we converted them to integers. Now we have to convert them back to a string to concatenate that into our message string here. And then we can get the player's guess. We're just going to, basically display that, guess a number between the low and the high, converted to strings. And then we're going to return another string, and then we're going to convert that to an integer. That's the player's guess. If they're lucky and the secret number is the same or evaluates to what the player's guess is, after we've converted it to an integer, yay, you win. And we display their name, and then you guess the secret number and the number of guesses that they used, which will be the value of guess count. The only other two conditions would be if the secret number is greater than what they guessed, we tell them they guessed too small. We give them a clue. And if the secret number is less than what they guessed, we tell them they guessed too high. And finally, at the end, the computer will display the randomly generated number. So we can compare what we got in the game to that. So if we were to play this game, let's go ahead and play it. We'll run it. We'll run it through a few times. So we'll do 1 and we'll do 10. Okay, high on the numbers allowed, they're within the required range. Range is 9. I get 3 guesses. I'm going to start at 5 right in the middle. Too small. Let's go to 7. Too small. How about 9? In this case, I got it on my third guess. All right, the number was 9. So let's run it again. And we'll use the same range and start at 5. Too high. 4. Come down to 3. In this case, secret number is 1, so I didn't. And then let's see what happens if we were to try something outside of the range. All right, well, let's do -5 and 200. Actually, the way we've coded it, either one of these would put it outside the range. But in this case, high or low number outside of required range. Since you can't follow the rules, we'll set them for you. And same thing. And so if I start at 5, that's too high, go to 3. I guessed it on the second guess. Okay, so just a fun way to get some experience with repetition and decision structures in Python.